Hey, boys and girls, back for another exciting episode. And this one, I'm actually just going to go over a couple things that we already did from last week, just to make sure you understand how to do them. Okay? Sometimes kids confuse learning, that learning is getting the answer right, and that means you're smart, you know how to do things. Okay? Well, an actual giant part of learning, what's going to sound a little weird to some of you, is getting things wrong. You're like, well, that's not what learning's supposed to be when you get, well, again, there's a different thing here. Learning is really saying, oh, I did that wrong yesterday. How can I do that better today or tomorrow or next week or next year or whatever it is? Okay, so getting things wrong is a part of life. Happens to every single person in every single area of their life. Okay, no one is perfect. And I can always tell, though, when kids are trying really hard and when they're just giving up. So those are two totally different things. Okay? I believe in this idea of yet. I don't know how to do this yet, or I'm having trouble with this right now. Okay? Right? I'm not able to do this yet, but I know if I keep going, I'll eventually be able to do it. Word problems are very hard. I think you guys sometimes are just used to reading a problem, finding the numbers, and just adding or subtracting them. Like it's easy. Right? So in this one, it says a pair of hippos weigh 5,201 kilograms. The female weighs 2,000. I'll use a different color. The female weighs 2,038 kilograms. So that's just the girl. What they actually want to know for an answer is how many more kilograms does the male weigh than the female? Again, I went through my numbers, and about 80%, which would be about 4 out of every 5 students in my 2 math groups, didn't actually answer that question. Okay, I like to kind of, when I'm setting up my paper, and I wrote these all out on paper, okay, I kind of set things up for myself. I know the male and the female together weigh 5,201 kilograms. I'm just getting the information right from the story or from the word problem. The female, I'll switch colors again. The female, won't let me switch, there we go. Just the female weighs 2,038 kilograms. So I want to isolate the part that I'm looking for. What I'm trying to find right now is how much does the male hippo weigh, or the boy hippo. I know how much the boy and the girl weigh together, and I know how much just the girl weighs. What I'm looking for is that other missing piece. Okay, and most of you, again, 80% of my class was able to get this part correct. You're then going to subtract. And that will tell me how much the boy weighs. I'm going to take the total of the boy and the girl, subtract just the girl, and then the boy will be left. Again, I do 1 minus 8, or I try to. I say, what's 1 minus 8? Oh, I can't do that. If I have 1, I cannot give you 8. I go to borrow, and there's nothing there. I keep going until I find something to borrow from. The 2 goes down to a 1, so I can make the 0 a 10. Now that I have 10, I have trouble with this like a weatherman. There we go. Now I can give you 8 of them. Oh, sorry. Now I can take 1 away and left with 9 so that I can make an 11 here. That's what I'm saying. Now that I have 11, now I can give you 8 and then would still have 3 left. And then 9 minus 3 is 6. 1 minus 0 is 1, and 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay. Almost everyone in my 2 groups got this correct and the answer wrong. And some of you are like, what do you mean? That is the answer. No, it is not. Does this tell me how much more the male weighs than the female? This tells me how much just the boy or the male weighs. So this was a super important step to find the answer, but it is not the answer. Okay, so kids kept texting me or emailing me or sending me messages in Google Classroom saying, the answer is wrong, the computer messed up, I went through, I looked at it, I said, nope, you just didn't finish the problem. And it's okay. It's really harder to work on, obviously, through a computer to try to teach problem solving and word problems. Because again, you guys are just used to, oh, here's one number, I'm probably going to add or subtract with them. Not sure which one. Subtract, it seems like. Nope. And that is an important first step. But again, it's not the answer to the question. The answer is how much bigger, again, that's in subtraction, we use the word difference. What's the difference between the weight of the male and the weight of the female? How much more does he weigh? So we have to take our, make sure it still will be on there. Here's the weight of the male. Then I'm going to subtract the weight of the female. That is going to be the actual answer to the question. Okay, so a lot of people stopped here. That's not the answer. That's the first step you need to figure out to then find the answer. Again, 3 minus 8, I think in my head, if I have 3, can I give you 8? Nope. I go to borrow, there is something there. I make this 13. Now I can take 8 away for 5. And then I do 5 minus 3, I can do that. I have 5, I can give you 3, 2 left. If I have 1, I give you none of them, I still have 1. I have 3, I give you 2, I still have 1. Okay, so it's okay, like if you were a little frustrated or you were getting mad or you were saying, I keep putting the answer and it keeps saying I'm wrong. Well, because that's not the answer. Again, it's something you had to do to figure the answer out. This, though, was the answer that they were looking for. That is how much more the male hippopotamus weighed than the female. Again, normally, in school, I would have you write that as a nice sentence. Okay, the male hippo weighed 1,125 kilograms more than the female hippo. All right, and then I'll do one more with you from this set. And then this was question 4. This one was even harder. There was like 3 or 4 steps even sometimes you had to do to figure this one out. Okay, it's okay if you got a little frustrated, you get a little mad, you say, this isn't right, this isn't right. That means that you really want to learn. I actually like it when my students get frustrated, not in a way where they get mad and do bad stuff, but I'm saying like I want to, that tells me that they want to learn how to do this. Not just me, hey, the answer is this, put it in the box. Like that does not help you to learn. Learning means I get better at something. So a little bit of frustration is okay. I even had some students ask me, well, can you erase all my answers and I can do it again? I'm like, absolutely. And then they were able to go through and fix it and change those around. So I love it when my kids say, like, this is hard or I need help. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. Just like in sports. Right? You don't just, Tom Brady doesn't show up Sunday at 1 o'clock and just play the game. He spends the whole rest of the week preparing. He practices stuff with his teammates. He studies film with the other team and so on. Okay? He made himself this incredible player. Right? So it's a very, very hard problem. The numbers aren't hard to manipulate or to add or subtract or move around. It's just what to do and when is what confuses people. A copper wire was 240 meters long. I sometimes, even just on my paper, like to draw myself a nice picture. I can picture this wire that's 240 meters long. After 60 meters was cut off, it was double the length of a steel wire. That's telling me, I'm already thinking in my head, at some point during this problem, I'm going to take 60 away, or do minus 60. Okay? And then after that, I'm going to cut something in half. And that's going to be a steel wire. So this one is copper. Okay? And then there's going to be some kind of steel wire. And I don't know how big the steel wire is yet, but I know that's going to pop up. Okay? So I probably made this a little too close over here. Let me chop a little less off. Right? So I'm going to take my 240 and I'm going to subtract 60. Pretty easy math problem. It's really just 24 minus 6 with a 0 on the end. 0 minus 0 stays a 0. 4 minus 6 I can't do. I borrow. 14 minus 6 is 8. And then 1. So after 60 meters gets chopped off, the length of the copper wire is going to be 180 meters. All I did is I took 240 and I chopped 60 off. Yet a lot of kids stop there and they put 180 in the answer box. and that is not the answer. That's just step 1. Step 2 tells me that the steel wire is going to be half the size of what's left of the copper wire. And cutting something in half is kind of hard. I think of it like sharing, and I went over this with my group today, right? If we're going to share $180, I get 150 and you get 30. Is that a good deal? It's a good deal for me. Not so good for you. Okay? I kind of ripped you off. I took it right. I took way more than you got. We didn't have a fair share. I get 100, you get 80. Closer. I still got more though. Yeah, sometimes 180, it's hard for people to picture in their mind. In my mind, I just think of 18. What would happen if we split $18? That's a little easier to picture. I can manipulate those numbers easier in my head. I think, well, if we were splitting 80, we would each get 9. So 180, if I split, we would each get 90. So now I know the length of the steel wire is 90. And again, a bunch of people put 90 in as their final answer. It's not. We're getting closer. First, we had to find 180. We had to use that to find 90. And I go back, and you can always go back and reread the problem. That is allowed, by the way. You can go back and you can look at the problem a couple times. The actual question, with the question mark, says how many meters longer was the copper wire than the steel wire at first? That means they want it from the beginning. At the beginning, this was the copper wire, and this was the steel wire. So again, some people did 180 minus 90 as 90 and put that in. What they want is 240 minus 90. Okay, get 0 minus 0, 4 minus 9. I have 4, can't give you 9. Now I have 14. Again, I don't have 14 fingers. I'd be some weird alien or something. All right, 14 minus 9 I can do. That's 5, and then 1. This was the actual answer to the question. Again, if you got stuck at 180, you got stuck at 90, you didn't really know what to do, that's okay. That's how learning works. If I gave you a similar problem to these two now, would you now be able to do something like these next week? That's what learning means. I wasn't able to do these yet. Next time, or 3 times from now, you're like, oh, I remember how to do these. That is learning. So keep on learning, boys and girls.